Welcome to The Beat. I'm Jason Johnson, in for Ari Melber. We start with breaking news in the MAGA riot probe. The January 6th investigation pointing to possible crimes by Trump and his allies in Congress. The probe intensifying as new evidence is uncovered today. And a major new subpoena just revealed. Philip Waldron, the retired U.S. Army colonel who circulated that PowerPoint coup plan, has been subpoenaed. The committee wants to hear from this election denier who got access to the White House. Waldron's PowerPoint, uncovered in the Meadows trove of data, detailed a plot to overturn Biden's win. Here is the brand new letter from the committee stating Waldron has, quote, information concerning attempts to disrupt or delay the certification of the 2020 election results. Meadows got a copy of the PowerPoint one day before the insurrection. Waldron saying he visited the White House on multiple occasions after the election and spoke with Meadows maybe 8 to 10 times. Waldron's subpoena citing that very statement he made to the Washington Post. Here he is, last December, at a Georgia Senate hearing, spreading false information.
President Chavez designed them for. They're designed to control and manipulate votes, and that's what we found reviewing these things. We have affidavits in Pennsylvania and Arizona that these machine-printed ballots were injected into the system.
Have you had an opportunity to examine any of other Dominion machines?
No, but we'd like to.
That was Rudy Giuliani laughing, but he might not be laughing now. A major Trump ally turned over phone records. Former Trump campaign manager Brad Parscale says the phone data was subpoenaed and he's cooperating, singing like a jaybird. All of this coming as Trump allies in Congress are rattled and scrambling. MAGA's Jim Class Jordan admitting to a coup text to Meadows. Others worry the committee knows what they did last summer. The New York Times reporting 6 GOP loyalists fought to keep Trump in power as MAGA insiders were holding so-called crisis meetings as early as November 9th. More on this in a moment. This explosion of evidence stems from Mark Meadows, Trump's top aide, who led Trump allies in Congress to pressure the Justice Department to overturn the 2020 election. Meadows in serious legal jeopardy, and with this evidence, so are Trump allies in Congress. Joining me now, I could not think of a better pair of people to talk to. Joining me now is former U.S. Attorney Joyce Vance and Justice Correspondent for The Nation, the angriest lawyer on television, Elie Mystal. Thank you guys so much for joining me this evening. Joyce, I'm going to start with you. I could read from the script. I could go from technical information. I'm just going to ask you the question that every single American is asking. Why the heck aren't these people in jail already? Why? Why are we not seeing perp walks? I do not understand this. Explain this to me like I'm a 7-year-old, why we don't already have members of Congress and these people who plotted to take over the government in jail already.
Well, you're not a 7-year-old, and I know from our conversations that you understand this as well as any lawyer. The problem here is that we're on the precipice. We're struggling to remain a rule of law country. The Democrats can't become the party of lock 'em up. We saw how dangerous that was when Trump supporters perpetuated that sort of role and sort of whipped mobs into frenzies. In this country, evidence comes first and conviction comes second. And so we're now going through the slow, painful process of putting the evidence together. It's frustrating. It takes longer than any of us would like it to because the facts seem so clear in front of our eyes. But it's critical that the committee do its work and hopefully that DOJ do its work and that they meticulously collect evidence so that we understand the difference between what we suspect and what we can prove beyond a reasonable doubt in court, who the participants are and what they did. Just what we've seen tonight with this Waldron subpoena is momentous. You know, the committee describes the PowerPoint as a blueprint to overthrow an election. If it's true, and Waldron's credibility will have to be tested. We don't know if he'll hold up as a credible witness. If he does, and if he had a series of 8 to 10 meetings with Mark Meadows that culminated in the production of a PowerPoint, that sounds an awful lot like we're in conspiracy territory. So I think, unfortunately for all of us, we have to be patient for a little bit longer.
You can call me cool. You can call me miracle. I can be whipped into a frenzy very easily because this seems pretty clear to me. Elie, so here's my question for you. We have so much information here about what appears to be conspiracy. We have people sending text messages back and forth saying, hey, want to take over the government? Sounds cool. Let's do it. Legally, are there ways that we could be moving faster? I understand what Joyce is saying, that, hey, we want to be meticulous, but are there ways we could be moving faster? Because I still seem to see people who are ignoring or not paying attention to when they should be coming in to testify, and there's just a process of being in contempt. I can't help but think to myself, if you or I were caught with a trove of documents saying we wanted to take over the state of Michigan, we'd be in jail by now. So I don't understand why that hasn't happened faster on a federal level.
Sure, we could be moving faster. Joe Biden could have nominated Liz Cheney for Attorney General, maybe. Maybe that would have worked out. Or maybe he could have nominated Jamie Raskin, or Adam Schiff, or Joyce, or Glenn Kirshner, or you, or me, or a ton of other people who would be putting the wood to these people by now already. Now, I agree with Joyce that we are fundamentally in the investigative phase. My question is, why is Congress doing the investigating and not the FBI? Where's Chris Wray? Where's Federal Society Republican appointee Chris Wray on these subpoenas? Why is Brad Parscale turning over documents to the Select Committee as opposed to the FBI? Why is Walden being subpoenaed by the Select Committee as opposed to the FBI? Is the FBI on the case? Now, they might argue that they are, and maybe we don't know, and maybe there's a super double secret investigation that's boiling beneath the surface that's ready to erupt at the opportune moment. Maybe that's the case, but I don't see evidence of that yet right now. What I see is Congress, which has an oversight function, doing with all deliberate speed, as quickly as they can, putting together a case, and I see the FBI doing nothing to go get these people. And that is my question, and that is my problem. And I think it all comes back to Joe Biden's decision to appoint Merrick Garland, a slow-moving institutionalist, to the Department of Justice, as opposed to some of his more aggressive choices like Schiff or Raskin or Yates, or I could keep going on about other people who I think would have prosecuted this, who would have prosecuted the prosecution a little bit more expeditiously than what we're seeing from Garland.
I can think of hundreds of DAs, local DAs who could be. I mean, Harvey Dent would have been able to do a better job than what we've seen so far from Merrick Garland. I want to play this soundbite here. It's from an organizer, Joyce. I want to hear your thoughts. It's an organizer who is basically talking about how they had planned to stay at one hotel, then they heard Trump talking. I want to get your thoughts on the other side as to how this also plays into the idea that these people were very clearly being directed by the president and his cronies.
What we revealed to the committee is that there was an internal conflict that was ongoing inside the organizer groups about what the program and what the day on January 6th should look like. And we kind of lost that battle. And we didn't realize we lost that battle until President Trump told people to walk down to the Capitol.
Joyce, what does this tell us about the direct involvement of the president, not to mention what may or may not have actually been occurring within the sort of organizers of this attempted coup?
Well, it certainly gives us some good leads that investigators need to follow. And, you know, I'm sort of in Ellie's camp on this. I have this same question about where the FBI is. I think you can make an interesting argument that all that matters is the ultimate result of this investigation, and that it would be a very compelling case if a bipartisan congressional committee were to refer an investigation to Maine Justice for prosecution after they completed their work. So that's certainly a possibility, but it does seem like the FBI has plenty of leads that they can follow up on. And this is one of them. How did the events on January 6th itself take place? Who was calling the shots? Was there some sort of master plan, or was this really something that just happened on an ad hoc one-off basis throughout the day? There are so many questions along these lines. One of the intricacies of developing a conspiracy case is you need to identify the subject of the conspiracy. There has to be an illegal objective that a group of people come together and agree to accomplish. So it's not as easy as seeing pieces of activity here and there. You actually have to find the group. You have to prove the agreement, the specific conduct that they agreed to do, and establish that it's illegal. It's always been a possibility that on January 6th, there were multiple conspiracies involving multiple people, or perhaps no conspiracy at all. But someone needs to get to the heart of that, whether it's the FBI or Congress.
Yeah, I mean, this was not a crowd of people that ran on the field after a game-winning shot. Like they were clearly there for a purpose and were ready to be riled up. One of the people who has played a role in perpetuating misinformation and keeping these fires burning has been Jim Jordan. Ellie, I want to play you a quote from Jim Jordan and then get your thoughts on the other side as to how many of these Republicans are going to be continuing to allow, why are they continue to allow to lie and claim they didn't know things that we all know they were doing?
So I've talked to the president numerous times. I continue to talk to the president since he's left office.
January 6th, Congressman.
Yes, I mean, I've talked to the president. I've talked to the president so many. I can't remember all the days I've talked to him, but I've certainly talked to the president.
I remember every time I've spoken to somebody famous. I'm pretty sure I remember the first time I saw Barack Obama in a gym in Berea, Ohio, talking. I have trouble believing that Jim Jordan doesn't remember talking to the President of the United States on the day that people tried to take over this country. Ellie, when you see video like that, does it make you more or less encouraged that maybe some of these Republicans will eventually be flipped when they've been caught in obvious lies? Or does it make you think that they're pretty much going to keep gaslighting us until somebody locks them up and puts them in a striped costume?
I think unfortunately the latter. There is no indication that I see from these Republicans that they are anything other than thralls to Donald Trump. They have bought that hook, line, and sinker, and there is no turning back for people like Jim Jordan. There is no turning back for people like Ted Cruz. They have decided to literally hitch their wagons, hitch their rafts to the good ship of state that is Donald Trump, and they will go down with that ship. That is just their decision. I'm a little bit more interested in people like Mark Meadows, right? I'm a little bit more interested in some of the, we make a big deal about the people who haven't cooperated with the Select Committee, the Meadows, Bannon, Jeffrey Clark. Most people have. Hundreds of people have cooperated. Brad Parscale, who was that's the guy who was like sending out Death Star tweets before the campaign imploded. He's cooperating, right? So, while the people at the top, they maybe have too much invested in Trump to ever get away from him. I mean, look, Mike Pence. Trump tried to kill Mike Pence, and Mike Pence is just like, I'm still, trying to hang on to Donald Trump. So maybe the people at the top have too much to lose. But as we start getting into the staff and the other people who are just kind of around, maybe they are the people that we can hope will one day see the light, will one day tell the truth, and will one day free themselves of the thrall of Trump, and thus hopefully bring the country to a place of enlightenment and truth.
Joyce, I want to know, because as we're heading into this final time, and I want to ask this very quickly, is there a timeline for this? Is there a time that we have to have these investigations done in order to stave off what might happen in the fall of 2022? Very quickly.
So as a prosecutor, you don't think in terms of politics. You think in terms of the 5-year statute of limitations that you have to indict a case. As a political calculus, though, this committee has at least until the new Congress is sworn in to complete its work, possibly longer. And DOJ can continue to work after that for the full extent of at least the Biden first term in office.
Joyce Vance and Ellie Mistal, thank you both so much for starting us off today.